While we're on this topic of running backs, I'd like to transition to our next topic where we're going to rank these 5 running backs for the rest of the season. All right, so Brennan, I would like you to go first here. I would like for you to rank these 5 running backs for the rest of the season. Give me a little explanation on each one. What do you think?
Okay, starting this shit off, I'm actually surprised looking at my rankings here. Um, I'm gonna rank the first motherfucker on here, top dog. Give me Isaiah Pacheco. And I think that is due to because if you look at it, the Chiefs receivers are literally probably the worst receiving core in the league. They lead the league in drops. They are not helping Mahomes out at all. Mahomes has been playing, dare I say, like an average quarterback. Not necessarily his fault. He's making a lot of good plays, but I mean, his guys aren't getting separation. The Chiefs organization is really failing Mahomes right now. They need to put some help around him as far as receiver wise. But so Pacheco, the Chiefs are going to be leaning more on the run, and they're having a lot of success to it. Pacheco runs hard as fuck, and he's been having success, and he's been scoring a lot of touchdowns. So I think that's going to continue. And with the way the running back market is this year, I just think he's up there for sure. He's a top 8 back for me. Um, Next, I have Bijan. That is going to be due to Atlanta having Desmond Ritter at quarterback. So it's in their best interest to go through the run game. And Bijan's an elite level talent. He's already one of the best running backs in the league. It seems like every time he touches the ball, whether it's a 2-yard gain or a 30-yard gain, he's literally making some dude fall to his knees with some crazy ass juke or move or something. He can catch the ball, he can run the ball, he scores whenever he gets an opportunity somewhere is near the goal line, he's going to be punching that some bitch in. I mean, he just caught what? That was last week. He caught like a 30, 40-yard over the shoulder touchdown
Yeah.
pass from Ritter.
Yeah.
He's just dog. I think they're gonna if Arthur Smith wants to keep his job, it's in his best interest to run his offense through Bijan Robinson. Next up, we have let's see here. Let's see. We have Devon A Chain. This dude, it seems like every time he's touched the ball this year, he's took that some bitch for about a 65-yard touchdown. He's what did he run in the 40? Do y'all remember? It was like a 4.2, 4.3, something like that. Like a low 4.3 or high
I think
4.2.
I think, I think like 4.32 something like that.
Yeah, he is one of the
Oh,
fastest guys in the league, it looks like. And this Miami offense is like scoring touchdowns at an insane rate. Hill, Waddle, A Chain, Mostert. They're just crazy, bro. Tua is playing off the chain this year. I think A Chain is a top probably 12 to 13 back rest of the way. Even with Mostert in the backfield, even though they're going to be splitting carries, I think there's enough work there for A Chain to score damn near every week and have. I mean, he can break any playoff, whether it's a 99-yard touchdown run, 30-yard. He can break any playoff for a touchdown. He has that ability, so he's got to be one of the top backs. Next, I have Jameer Gibbs. That's not saying with him being second to last on the list, that's not saying he's a bad play. He's still a great back. But if I think this past week, Montgomery out touched him by like a significant bit. So
yeah.
I think it's still from what happened early in the season. I think Dan Campbell still wants Montgomery to be the workhorse back and A-Chain to kind of be the change of pace guy. And I think that's going to continue. But A-Chain is kind of like, I mean, not A-Chain. Gibbs is kind of like A-Chain, whereas he has that breakaway speed and elusiveness to break any run for a touchdown. And this Lions offense is just like Miami, scoring a ton of touchdowns. So Gibbs is going to have multiple opportunities every week to punch it in the end zone. And last, we got Zack Moss. I think he's only on this list, if I'm right, because JT's out with his little thumb injury, whatever it is. I think the doctors had said it was a 3 to 5 week recovery. So depending on how long he's going to be for Taylor to come back, we'll kind of push Moss up or down this list. But for now, since it's unknown, I'm going to have Moss last. But whenever Taylor's out, Moss is going to be an RB1 every week that Taylor's out. So just because of sheer volume he's going to see. So
Yeah. I agree with some of those points. My order is a little bit different though. So to me, as we're nearing the end of the season, mine's all based on upside because I mean the chances of winning the playoffs are slim anyway. So just give me the guys who I think can blow the top off. My number one is going to be A-Chain, just because it seems like every time he's even semi-healthy, the dude is putting up big numbers. Yeah, there's some question marks about whether or not he's going to stay healthy, considering he just re-injured his knee, but he looked pretty good this past week. So in regards to that, I'm going to take A-Chain at the one. Um, it would be real easy for me to say Gibbs at number two, just if he hadn't had such a poor performance last week against the Saints. I would definitely be taking Gibbs because of how well he's been doing. I know some of that was because of the absence of Montgomery, but even whenever he came back, he still looked pretty good. Um, just because of that last game, I'm going to knock him down. So the guy who I would probably take second is Bijan. The reason I'm going to take Bijan second is because he has the easiest schedule of any running back in the playoffs. And I'm a little hesitant to do that for one reason. Even though his schedule is the easiest, Arthur Smith has proven that he's like the most unpredictable coach in the NFL. And you never know the type of involvement his players are going to have. But despite that, I still think Bijan's the best player on his team, clearly. And if Arthur Smith sees his team as playoff caliber or the chance to get in the playoffs now that they beat the Saints, I think he's going to have to lean on Bijan. So I'm going to put Bijan number two. Number three, I'll take Gibbs. And I think that the Saints' performance, they went up big early and they were kind of just managing the clock. They didn't really need to have these big explosive plays. So I think going forward, Gibbs is going to see a more evened out role, and he can break one off at any time. So having that upside is really valuable when you're in the playoffs. Number four is going to be Pacheco. He seems like he's a solid he's probably the most solid and sure player of all of these guys week in, week out. He seems to always put up about 15 points, and when he finds the end zone, he's cracking the 20-point line. So as far as reliability, he's definitely number one. And then I have Zack Moss. Zack Moss was blowing the top off of defenses, it seemed like, for a little while with JT out. But this past game, he underperformed a good bit. And he's just, he's the least exciting player probably out of all of them. So, and then the potential of JT coming back could hurt him. So yeah, he's at the end for me.
Yeah. So I'll go next here. I'm gonna do it similar to how I did it last week. I'm gonna give y'all my top guy. I'm gonna give y'all my bottom guy. Up there at the top, I'm gonna have to rock with A-Chain at the one. I mean, the dude's averaging like 23 points per game for Christ's sake. I mean, he'd be higher on this list if he didn't have the touchdown leader on his team in Mostert, and an absolute dog in Tyreek Hill. But I feel like A-Chain is, a lock to be a top 10 finish the rest of the year. So I'm going to go with A-Chain at the one. That one was pretty easy for me. Down there at the five, I'm not going to lie, there were a couple guys who I could have stuck at the five, but ultimately I decided that I'm going to go with Gibbs at the five. I think David Montgomery is going to cap his upside, and he's, going to be sharing carries with him. And I think Montgomery is actually the lead back over there. I don't even think Gibbs is the best fantasy running back on his team for the rest of the season. So I'm going to go with Gibbs at the five. Now the 2, 3, 4, it was a little hard, but at the two, I'm going to go with Bijan Robinson. Like it was mentioned already, he has a weak playoff schedule. And I think Arthur Smith is actually, going to come around on him. I'm seeing him get more involved week in after week out. And his playoff schedule is going to be Carolina, Indy, and Chicago for fantasy football playoffs. So Bijan Robinson has a great schedule. I like him at the 2 spot. Now I have this guy at the 3, higher than both of y'all. That's Zack Moss. Sap, you said something earlier how you were, making this list based off of upside. That is why Zack Moss is in my 3. I think Zack Moss has a really high upside that we've already seen him display earlier in the season. And he's going to be a bell cow back, and I like him from a sheer volume perspective. Out of all the guys on this list, he's the guy who's going to get the most volume. And that's, something that definitely matters whenever it comes to fantasy football. He's going to have a lot of opportunities. I like Zack Moss at the 3. And then number 4, I'm going to go with Isaiah Pacheco, which is honestly not probably fair to Isaiah Pacheco. He's the RB9 on the year, and he's been playing really good. Last couple of weeks he went for over 20 plus, but he's been kind of boomer bust throughout the season. Some weeks he'll have 20 something point games, and other weeks he'll have like 6-7 point games. So, but nonetheless, he is the RB9. I like him at the 4 slot. So, to round out my list, that would be A-Chain at the 1, Bijan at the 2, Zack Moss at the 3, Pacheco at the 4, and Gibbs at the 5. B-Yard, what do you think about this list?
I'm not gonna go into detail on each specific guy because y'all pretty much touched on all of them. But I'll just give my list, and it's A-Chain at the 1. I'm gonna go ahead with Bijan at 2. I like that. Then I'm gonna go Gibbs 3, Pacheco 4, Moss, even though he's getting probably the most touches at 5.
Okay,
So
what
really-
y'all think?
JT, just
y'all
because
think about
JT
his
might be
list?
back. JT might be back quicker than people think.
Yeah, well, I don't. So personally, I'm actually really concerned about JT. So it's 3 to 5 week injury. They just paid him all that money. If the Colts aren't making a playoff push, what's the point of bringing
actually,
him back?
Jay, as of this week, they're in the playoffs. So
Yeah, I'm saying, I think they're gonna have to make a decision down the road based off of where they're sitting if
okay.
they want to bring him back.
Yeah.
If they are in that conversation and they think they need him to make that push and that's what they want to do, then that makes sense for them. But
Mhm.
we'll have to see what happens on